It took a long time, but EA finally released an awesome Star Wars game without including microtransactions. Jedi Fallen Order takes you on an exhilarating adventure with Dark Souls combat, Metroid-style map layout, and a Prince of Persia exploration style, with a deep story to boot. I know this game has been out for a while now. To be honest, I beat it before I played Code Vein, and I got that list out of the way because I was so invested in that game that I forgot about this one. The Star Wars universe take on the Souls series was a lot of fun in my opinion, even if the ending was spoiled by people who rushed through the game on day one. Thanks for those titles and thumbnails which ruined the end. You guys know who you are. Anyway, with my little spoiler rant out of the way, let's get into the video. Today I'm going to take you through my personal list of the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order bosses ranked easiest to hardest. Let me say that this is my personal opinion and is not meant to sway anyone's opinion of these bosses. This is how I view them, and I will give a bit of insight as to why when discussing them. I did have to rewatch a few of the boss fights to get a reminder of how they act, since I don't have a copy of this game anymore. Alright, that out of the way, let's talk about some Star Wars bosses. Number 14, Second Sister, Tutorial Fight. The Inquisitors are a cool concept, and facing one of them right out of the gate is interesting. Once you get introduced to the mechanics of the game and slay some Stormtroopers, that is. This fight was a decent introduction to the lightsaber duel mechanics, and while you can't beat the Second Sister, it's still a cool battle. But it's the tutorial, so that's why this battle is at the top of the charts. Number 13, Bounty Hunters. I decided to put these guys together because they don't change often within the game. The first encounter with any of them is a death trap where you literally cannot win or progress without getting captured. After the main fight in the arena, you face off against your captor in a 1v1 situation. Honestly, depending on the hunter, this can be a cakewalk or a slight challenge. Once this fight is over, you will encounter pairs of hunters throughout the rest of the game, mixing it up between a shooter with a droid, a jetpack wielder with a droid, or a pair of shooters who can shield bash and flashbang you. They are annoying and often can be a surprise if you're not expecting them to show up. The humans themselves can be very easy to take down. I found defeating them first and then focusing on the droid was the way to go. At these stages of the game, you've had plenty of Stormtroopers to practice for deflecting shots on, so these hunters are looking for a bounty they won't collect. Number 12, Security Droid. These guys are similar to those temple guard machines you encounter earlier in the game. Mini-bosses you run into just for a small laugh at how easy they are to beat. The droid is persistent with its punches, often swinging several times, and can deal decent damage if you're not careful. The first encounter is within a tight corridor, which can make it tricky to beat if you aren't vigilant. Later in the game, you can hack their systems and make them fight each other if there's a pair of them, which is pretty funny. They're also addicted to wanting hugs.
Hug! I still think you should hug him.
Number 11, ATST. Heavy Artillery and Armored Stormtrooper is the best way to describe this thing. Its blaster shots can be deflected with ease, and the missile can be pushed back towards it for moderate damage. If you can deflect blaster shots and rockets, then this fight will be a cakewalk. Deflecting a blaster shot will stun the machine, leaving it open for you to close in for easy damage. Every so often it will send out stun charges to get you back off its legs or lock you down. These are easy tells and are not difficult to avoid. It is cool to face off against this thing, and the driver even comes out to say hello after you down it. But don't expect him to be any threat. Number 10, Nidak Alpha. Honestly, I ran into this thing on Dathomir and thought it would be difficult. Less than 30 seconds later, I was laughing at how pathetic this thing was. Its attacks are very similar to the regular Nidaks, consisting of around 4 to 5 arm swings, with the only difference being that this thing can strike back at you if you parry its attacks, and he hits harder. The arena is large enough that backing off if you need to heal is no issue, and this thing can be easily slowed with the force to leave it open. Don't be too aggressive though, this thing can drain your health quickly if you're overly confident with your assaults. Number 9, Second Sister. Finally, we get a solid lightsaber battle, at least a half health of the boss. This is a solid step from the tutorial fight, and she makes sure you're well tested. She has multiple different movesets that she can unleash upon you. She can knock you off balance with the force, and break your guard often with overhead drive attacks and swift drive strikes. The overhead slash, however, is easy to dodge, and leaves her open to a few attacks. She will often stand still, taunting you at times, which gives you ample time to heal if needed. This fight is fun for a lightsaber duel, but falls short since you only have to take out about half her health before a cutscene ends the battle. Number 8, Rabid Yotas, the third planetary upgrade to the native creatures you find in the game. This thing hits like a truck and does it often chaining together several swings and heavy unblockables which can stagger you and leave you with an empty health bar. This thing is very aggressive, yet its attacks are still easy to tell from a long wind-up, making dodging around the beast fairly simple. I didn't take it very seriously at first, so it did kill me twice. Once I got back into the rhythm of the game, I downed this thing pretty quickly. Number 7, Albino Wishhook. I hate spiders, and seeing this thing on Kashyyyk really scared the hell out of me. Seriously, when the first one jumps on you, I nearly had a literal heart attack. So while exploring randomly around the area, I found this thing's lair. Immediately upon finding it, I knew what I was in for. This thing's attacks are quick and faster than its generic counterparts, but it is very aggressive with its unblockables, which have very easy tells, yet extremely high tracking against you. Dodging these strikes is harder than it looks. At times, it will try to back off and get you with its web shot for an easy strike. Close the distance fast if you want to prevent it from doing so. The arena is also very constrained, making movements all the more difficult. The only reason he is so high on this list is because for some reason, his spider friends didn't leave the adjacent cave to go after the Stormtroopers in the open setting. Instead, as soon as this thing jumped on me, they showed up and ganged up on me, and well, I had nightmares of that scene for a week. This guy also seems to glitch out a lot. Although it beat me easily on the first time, I went back for revenge, and it never spawned again. Maybe they fixed this since my time playing, but this aggressive arachnid is one boss I will not miss. Number 6, Gorgara. A giant bat on Dathomir. This thing was the first real beast boss in my opinion. Everything up to it was just a reskin of a planetary native creature or a simple joke to keep you on your toes. This thing starts out simple with a few wing attacks that are easy to evade. Once it starts using the rest of its moveset is when this thing gets interesting. A sonic shriek, which is easy to avoid by running to the side, a charge to the opposite side of the arena, which again is easy to avoid, and a slam down attack which sends out a shockwave, which makes it a good challenge. It's a new mechanic not introduced at any point yet in the game, and can take you by surprise. Knocking the bat down by striking its wings and attacking the red mark on its forehead is the best way to damage this thing. The fight ends with a cinematic freefall where you have to land on the bat 3 times. This was annoying because the window for success seems to be very small. Several times I hit the bat dead center and it didn't register a solid grab. This was one of the best boss fights in the game and I enjoyed taking this bat down. Number 5, Ogdo Bogdo. We all know the pain that this toad can bring. I found this guy by accident while randomly exploring the map, and he quickly became my arch nemesis. I spent over an hour trying to beat this thing, and he still obliterated me every time. I blame that mainly due to my inexperience of Souls-type games, so I was still trying to learn the mechanics of dodging very precise frames. The toad's attacks are pretty quick, and while the arena is rather large, it's easy to get cornered by this giant toad. His damage on a low-level new player like me was also very infuriating, easily putting my health near 10% almost every time before I even got a single dodge or attack of my own out. I figured out that he won't leave the area, making it easy to roll in, attack, and roll out before he can strike back. There's a reason this toad is considered one of the most painful bosses to people who have played this game. Honestly, he deserves every single piece of praise. Number 4, Trilla Sundari. Fighting this girl again is interesting, however, once again, it doesn't last long. Thankfully, the main battle isn't too far off. The challenge arena halfway through, though, is very interesting, and honestly, I wish they did something similar with this game's DLC, rather than the open-world make-your-own-fight scenario expansion that we got. She's more aggressive and has a wider range of lightsaber attacks and force powers, yet I quickly discovered an easy way to beat her. Simply slow her down with the force, then dual-saber her health into oblivion. Seriously, for being the final boss in the game, you'd think she would be resistant to the force abilities, if even a little. Nope, she's easy to wreck because she can't resist the force. There are times where I did run out of mana and had to duke it out normally, but those times didn't come too often. Her attacks are fairly easy to block. She also has a stab unblockable, which is laughable at how slow her windup is. She's difficult to assault normally, often stopping you short of 2 hits almost every time, making chaining combos together a little bit challenging for her. She also drains your stamina very quickly if you try to actually duke it out with her, making her very aggressive for a final boss. It's just too bad she didn't learn how to concentrate hard enough to stop your slows. Number 3, Ninth Sister. This fight was one of the best in the game. The Ninth Sister is more aggressive compared to the second. She has a 4-piece lightsaber combo, the ability to throw her saber towards you at range, several unblockables which have easy tells to them, although the charge unblockable is one of the tightest tracking maneuvers in the game and is very difficult to avoid. About a quarter of the way through the fight, a small cutscene interrupts the flow and she ignites her dual saber. This is where the fight gets really interesting. The dual saber allows her to string more aggressive combos together, which are a little bit more difficult to deflect. She will pull you in with the force to keep the fight in close quarters, as well as a few new unblockables, which makes the fight more intense. Once you died once to her, she skips the cutscene and pulls the dual blade out instantly. which can throw off your rhythm if you're expecting the cutscene to give you a moment to chill. This was an epic fight and a solid test of your adaptability. Number 2, Taran Malikos. You're first introduced to this guy as a wandering scavenger, someone who seems shady but not too threatening. Later in the game, he turns out to be a Jedi who survived Order 66, retreated to Dathomir, and learned the dark ways of the Force from Night Sister Merrin. This was a wicked lightsaber fight. His dual-wielding attacks keep you moving throughout the entire fight, with the key being to withstand or avoid his attacks, then counter with your own dual-wielding powers. He has high stamina, making for a bit of a grind to open up his guard. But that's good. It makes the fight more interesting. As the fight progresses, he will mix force attacks into his assaults, throwing boulders at you, tossing one saber into the air as a decoy while he comes in to cut you down, and throwing both sabers in tandem to drain your stamina. Night Sister Merrin does come into the fight halfway, often throwing magic at Malikos to stun him, leaving his guard open for an assault. I like that part of the fight, because it showed development in an otherwise not seemingly important character. Overall, I very much enjoyed this fight. Easily the best fight in the entire game, well, next to the final true boss of the game. And number 1, Darth Vader. This was spoiled to me before I got to the end of the game. But even with that, the young child within me cheered when I heard the breathing of this Sith Lord. The mere sound of his approach was enough to bring Trilla to a complete standstill, after which Vader wrecks her with disappointment for her abilities. When Seer gets yeeted off the platform, you're left facing the Sith Lord. You can stand there, or try and fight him. Not that it matters, because he throws you out the door and immediately recreates the carnage from the Rogue One hallway scene, destroying everything and everyone in his path as you run for your goddamn life, narrowly escaping through the elevator shaft. Honestly, I was cheering for Vader the entire time, wanting him to show Cal how untrained he truly was, similar to how he toys with Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger. Although it's clear how powerful Vader is, I really hope Fallen Order 2 brings out a boss battle against the Sith Lord similar to that of Malikos. I think that would be really interesting. Or maybe some of the other Inquisitors. So there you have it, my take on the Jedi Fallen Order bosses. I want to thank you for staying with me until the end, and if you play this game, let me know your thoughts on the Jedi Fallen Order bosses down in the comments. I'd like to see what your guys' thoughts are. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.